Anywhere.
Okay. It was probably the summer between second and third grade. I was riding my bike, as I love to do, late in the afternoon. I had actually just got a new bike. It was a shiny orange, straight two-wheeler. Before that, I had training wheels. I'll be honest with you, I was a late bloomer on balance. I was riding behind the school, and I saw a friend of mine. Well, it's actually my brother's friend. His name's Paul. He was of Chinese descent. And I saw him, and he seemed to be playing some sort of game with a bunch of other guys about his age or slightly bigger. I started riding in that direction, and I made eye contact with him, and he started waving at me. So I waved back, and I thought, oh, okay, you know, whatever's happening sounds like it's fun. Let me go check it out. I rode over there, and I was probably about maybe 7 years old, so they're at least double my age. And I get there, and what I ended up seeing is that Paul, who's actually a good friend of my brother's, was getting beat up by about 4 other guys. And these 4 other folks were pushing him to the ground, calling him racial names, and one of them even kicked him, just as I was getting off my bike. And then I walked up and I realized one of those kids is actually a friend of mine. A kid that I had known in school for a few years, who's older than me, but not that much older, maybe about 2 years older than me. And he called me in and encouraged me to join in. I didn't even know what was going on. And then everyone paused for a minute to determine whether I was with them or with Paul. So I stood silent because I saw these kids were beating up Paul. And they encouraged me to be a part of that. They continued to push him around. They even dragged him, I remember, because they were trying to drag him off behind one of the portables. After about a minute of that, something clicked in me and I said, I gotta say something. And I stepped in. And it didn't take long before I and Paul were both on the ground being beat up. When it was over, I thought about it and I said, you know what? That was one of the worst feelings I've had in my stomach ever. I was about 7. I hadn't had a lot of years yet. But there was something in that moment where I was standing silent, where I did nothing. And I watched someone be hurt. And I felt terrible about who I was in that moment. The consequences of my actions were, yeah, I got hurt too. But I can't tell you how much better I felt. How I felt like I did something. Someone had to do something, and these kids made me feel like I was part of them for a minute. And that made me feel ugly, terrible, helpless. And even though in the end, Paul and I were both going to his mom's house and finding bandages, I felt good. I felt like I did something. I made a difference. And I felt like I could keep my head up. We've all been there in some way or another. We've had these moments where we've had to make a choice. And sometimes our choice of staying silent is the choice we made. And maybe we turn a blind eye after that because we don't know Paul like I did. We don't know that we have to see Paul the next day. We don't have to see Paul's mom the next day. And so we walk away from that moment. But we feel it. And you may not realize it, but we feel it forever. That can't be who we are. That can't be who, as Americans, we want to be. We have to step up. We have to make a difference. And when we say somebody needs to do something about that problem, we have to look in the mirror first and say, what can I do about that problem? What little can I do to step up and be part of the solution? Even if it hurts, a little or a lot. And I can tell you, by the one cut under my eye. It hurt a lot that day. But you know what? When you step up, you will feel better. You will feel like you can hold your head up high. When it comes down to it, we have to work together. We have to figure out how to help each other. We can't be sitting on the sidelines. We have an election coming up next year, the 2020 presidential election. We have a moment to make a determination of who we are as Americans. We have an opportunity to step forward and be a part of the solution, or sit on the sidelines and say, you know what, it's somebody else's problem. I'm making good money, my 401k is up, I'm doing well in my life, I don't want to rock the boat. Or we can say, you know what, my brothers and sisters in my neighborhood are being hurt. My community is feeling pain. There are others who I don't know, but I can relate to them. And I understand their story. And I want to help them. And we can step up together and be a part of the solution. We have an opportunity before us. And it's our chance to hold our heads up high, to stand up for Paul and others like him, to make sure that we can be proud of who we are, regardless of the results, regardless of how much pain it causes us. We have those opportunities all around us. And I want to make sure that you understand that next year, voting is your opportunity. Making sure your friends and neighbors vote is your opportunity. And being part of the solution and not sitting on the sidelines is your opportunity. I call to you to take advantage of your opportunity. Don't be me in that 1 minute as I stood and watched Paul get beat up. Don't feel that it's shame. Be the solution and be the change. Vote in 2020. Thank you.